Hi, this is Fred Dodson, and I never taught that evil people can't have high energy. That's why my book is not called Levels of Consciousness, it's called Levels of Energy. I just want to read this review or piece of criticism that I found on Amazon on my book Levels of Energy, which at first sight looks valid, and I mean it is valid from the person's perspective. It's not a bad criticism. There's some validity to it, but I also want to show you where it's wrong. It says, and I'm only quoting a small part, I was frustrated by some of his examples, which included famous people who were widely admired around 2010. That's when my book was written. Examples that many authors might have used back then to elicit head nodding from readers. But two of his examples' reputations have fallen well short of their original facades. Dodson claimed that Barack Obama and Bill Gates exemplified high levels of consciousness. But recently, these two have become viewed by many as deceptive and power-hungry, intent on transformations of society that many would regard as nefarious. In future editions, Dodson's might rethink his evaluation of famous people still on the planet, because an individual's legacy cannot be accurately judged in advance. This would lend more credibility to his levels of energy explanations, assuring readers that he's a good judge of character who can see through the mask of famous people. Well, thanks for the feedback, which is valid, but it's not. It's valid in the sense that, yes, I have incorrectly labeled some famous people. That's always the problem with labeling famous people. And I say clearly in my book that I am in error about many things. And any author who claims he's without error is a liar. I literally say that in the book. So if you're familiar with the book, you know that. But you're also wrong in the sense that I never claimed that famous people have to be low energy. Here's what I taught. I have taught that a person can descend in consciousness. So there can be a Bill Gates, for example, and Bill Gates can descend through choices. You can make choices in life with which you ascend or descend. Now, I know there's authors who claim that it's absolute, the energy level is absolute, but that's not what I teach. So a lot of people go by what others teach and assume that's what I teach. I'm asking you to read my books without assuming, right? Because if we've read a lot of material, we come with certain expectations. Oh yeah, I know this kind of stuff. I know what he teaches, but maybe that's not what I teach. So you can always descend. For example, I wrote in my 2010 Levels of Energy that Deepak Chopra has descended. And for that reason, a certain publisher did not publish my book in their language. They refused to translate it because I claimed that. And they were offended because they liked Deepak Chopra. And then years later, it turned out that Deepak Chopra is perhaps not as clean as people thought, with allegations against him from all sides, which I won't go into detail on here. That's number one. Number two, I have also taught that evil people can harvest energy can borrow energy and can have high energy that is stolen. And I'm sorry if this renders the whole levels of consciousness scale kind of circular. It makes it very difficult, because energy can be stolen, it makes it very difficult to discern good and evil, truth and falsehood. I understand that. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean there is no such thing as good and evil. There is no such thing as different consciousness levels. But with some people it's difficult because they use or parasite off other people's energy. So, you could imagine that Bill Gates might be such a person, considering the kind of stuff he's been involved with. Number 3, I also teach that just because you think or you've been taught that a certain person is evil doesn't necessarily mean that the person is evil. Let's take Barack Obama, for example. You've been shown and taught on social media how evil Barack Obama is. But how do you know that for sure? Is that coming from indoctrination, from judgment, or from intuition? That's why I talk so much in my books, intuition training, the intuitive awareness method, the levels of energy books, about discerning between intuition and judgment. That's one of the main points of the book. So, for example, could it be, just for example, that Barack Obama is a double agent and that he's actually working for the good guys, but pretending to be working for the bad guys? You see, that's the problem with espionage. So the levels of consciousness are pretty straightforward. The energies are pretty straightforward with normal people, but if you're entering the fields of espionage and covert warfare, which we're currently in, it's hard to discern because they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know who they are, whether they're with the good guys or the bad guys. A lot of people say to me, or they criticize me because I'm positive about Elon Musk, and I'm happy about Elon Musk. And then they say to me, how can you support Elon Musk with his transhumanist agenda, blah, blah, blah? To which I respond, well, it's not Elon Musk. That's again an espionage problem. It's a guy with a mask pretending to be Elon Musk, just like Joe Biden. And I know it sounds crazy and far out for people to imagine, but if you measure the energy levels, as I've been teaching it, that's the only conclusion you can come to. You need to look at the fruits. To know a person's energy, look at the fruits. Okay, people say, Elon Musk has an evil agenda. Well, look at the fruits of what this so-called Elon Musk has been doing. Just the other day, he exposed that the government, the US government, has been reading your direct messages on Twitter. Okay, that's beyond criminal. That's completely insane and completely something different than we were told that Twitter is. And the fruits of that information are very positive because people awaken. I've been saying this for the last 10 years. I've been telling people what Twitter is, what Facebook is, what Google is, but now, finally, their so-called Elon Musk is exposing it. And that leads to awakening, to higher consciousness, higher awareness. So when you say, well, this guy's got an evil agenda, it's just not so. So either it's not Elon Musk, which is what I think, or the guy has ascended. He's made new choices with which you can ascend. My name is Fred Dodson, and I never taught that evil people can't have high energy. It just takes much, 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 much more effort for them to have high energy.